Hello and welcome to another episode of Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Rough Riders Ride or Die Issue 1. I believe this is a 6-part miniseries, and it begins in 1906 at the White House, where the recently appointed Theodore Roosevelt is leading his daughter Alice down the aisle to her wedding. And of course, Roosevelt has to talk politics to some random tubby guy on the way. And when he gets inside into the president's office, there he runs into who else? Harry Houdini. Now I know you're wondering, what is this? What is going on? Why would President Roosevelt be hanging around with Harry Houdini? Well, it turns out that Roosevelt has assembled a group called the Rough Riders, not his old-time military outfit, but a new secret brand of Rough Riders that consists of Theodore Roosevelt himself, Phoebe Ann Mosey, which is better known as Annie Oakley, Thomas Edison, the inventor, Jack Johnson, the famous boxer, who in 2 years from this story will win the heavyweight championship. He became the first black world heavyweight championship boxer from 1908 to 1915. Also in this group is Monk Eastman. Now, Monk Eastman was a career criminal and gangster from New York City. He had several aliases, but he was a widely known 20th century bad guy. He died in 1920 from a gunshot wound. Very interesting characters all. And now you're wondering, why are these people together? Well, a great evil has emerged, and they must stop it, because they are some of the greatest minds in American history, and only they can team up to form the League of Extraordinary... the Rough Riders. Now this book is actually the third installment in a series of books about the Rough Riders. There were 2 volumes that I know of prior to this, and they are available in trade paperback. And the cover has them looking gaunt and skeletal for a reason, because whatever they're up against is able to suck the life force out of people. Now, where did it come from? Well, Houdini was at a seance, which he had done several times. He had gone to seances to bust people, frauds, and he had an outstanding reward. If you were a real psychic, he'd give you money. Well, he went to the seance to learn some of their tricks, and the clairvoyant that was running this was most likely a charlatan, because they used the word rehearsed, but was possessed by something. It tapped into some kind of sinister evil that creates green goo out of the eyes and mouth. Well, it went on a killing spree, and Houdini, who was in disguise, tried to stop it, but had no luck and had to run away. So he dispatched Edison and Annie Oakley, who Annie Oakley may or may not be human, we're not sure. He dispatched them to find out what's going on with the bodies, so they're at the morgue. Well, at the seance house, Monk and Johnson are looking for clues, and Johnson was about to break into a safe when the maid snuck up behind him with a knife. Meanwhile, in Providence, Rhode Island, Houdini and the president are going to see somebody that may be able to help them with these otherworldly matters. And I think we can all guess who that is based on the location of 598 Angle Street in Providence, Rhode Island. So I found the book really interesting. It's only the first issue, but there's a lot of build-up. Obviously, there's some history here that I'm unaware of, but the story does a good job of pacing it well enough that I don't really need to have read the previous books. The only thing that bothered me was Annie Oakley seems to have some kind of southern drawl, and I'm not sure entirely why. She was born and raised in Ohio, not a southern or far west state. So I don't think she would quite be talking like a southerner or some yokel from out west. I'm not sure why she's talking that way. And she was married at this point, so I don't know why we don't see Frank Butler, her husband, because he was a marksman as well and would be a very good asset to the team, I would think. So he might come into play later, I'm not sure. Overall, it was a fun issue, and I would recommend it. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. Wasn't the greatest thing, wasn't the deepest thing I've ever read, but it was definitely a fun read with a cast of characters from history that I found pretty exciting. It's written by Adam Glass. He was the creator and writer, with Patrick Oakley as the artist, Gabe Eltabi as the colorist, Sal Cipriano as letterer, Patrick Oakley and Gabe Eltab did the cover, and I thought everything was good. It was a fun book. Like I said, not super deep. The art is a little rough, but definitely a lot of potential there. So I'm looking forward to picking up issue 2 of this one. So I would recommend this one. Hopefully the rest of the storyline plays out at least as good as this issue, and I'll be very happy. So I got my $4 worth. So check it out. It's by Aftershock. And I'm not as familiar with Aftershock. They tend to do a lot of horror stuff, and I don't normally read a lot of horror comics. But I think this one's worth picking up. So that's going to do it for this episode. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. Please be sure and hit like, share, and subscribe. And we hope to see you on the next episode.